Hey everybody, how's it going? Can you hear me okay out there? So, can you hear me? Is everything working? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Got all this technical stuff working? Anybody? Can you hear me? Well, I'll just assume then. Yep, cool. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in. All right, so if you were here last week, this got cut off. Like I still had a few minutes to go, and my good old Xfinity internet service decided to crap out on me, so I couldn't finish. So anyhow, I want to continue where we left off last week with some of this boring music theory that you really should know. And when I say boring, I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek because I hear that a lot. People say, "Oh, music theory is boring." I guess it can be, but it's also incredibly useful. I mean, you don't necessarily have to know everything, but some of these basic things that I'm going over are incredibly helpful for your playing for numerous things. So we left off last time. We went over the major scale and how to determine what notes are in a key. We went over the whole thing. Had you write down, 2 whole steps and a half step. So it's whole, half, whole, half. So 2 whole steps, half step, 3 whole steps, and then a half step. So when you play a major scale, that's what you're getting. So like here's your first note to the second note, that's a whole step. To the third note is a whole step. From the third to the fourth is a half step. From the fourth to the fifth is a whole step. From the fifth to the sixth is a whole step. From the sixth to the seventh is a whole step. And then from 7 to 8 back to your octave is a half step. So like I said, I call that music DNA because that's like everything is kind of based around that. And then we went over some basic chord construction of how to use the scale to make major chords, minor chords, dominant seventh, minor seventh, and major seventh chords. And there's obviously lots of other chords aside from that, but that's kind of your bread and butter. That's going to kind of cover most things. All right, so the next thing that we want to do with this is now that we know how to determine what notes are in a key, we want to determine what chords are in the key. So what I'm going to do is I want to show you what is called a chord scale. I'm going to show you 2 of them. One of them will be for 3-note chords, so it'll be your majors and minors, and then the other one will be for 4-note chords, and that'll be your 7th chords. So before we do that, I want to show you one thing that is something that is really helpful when you're learning chords. Like if you learn all the 7th chords in the open position, it's like a whole bunch of different shapes. But if you do this based off of bar chords, I know bar chords is that's a 4-letter word to some people, but there's no way around it. You got to do bar chords. But if you learn these with bar chords, it's much easier to do this because you just learn one shape and then you can just move it around. So if I haven't already said this before, something that's really valuable to do is to learn where all the notes are on your E and A strings. So, know that, like, the 5th fret here, that's an A, and the 7th fret here, that's an E, and here that's a B. You learn where all of those notes are, because that's where your root notes are going to be for all of these bar chords. So first, let's dissect a bar chord. So hopefully you already know, just like your major and minor bar chord shapes, with the root note being on the 5th and the 6th string. If not, really quickly, I'll show you that. So a really easy way to kind of think about it is if you look at your E major chord here and your E minor. I'm going to play that, but I'm going to use the wrong fingers. So the reason that this is E major is because I'm playing this open string. That's an E, right? So if I want to move up a half step, I move these fingers up. Now I have to make these open strings be at the 1st fret. So I just bar my 1st finger across. So my 1st finger has become like a capo. So that's our major shape. And to make it minor, you just take your middle finger off. And we do the same thing with A major and A minor on the rooted on the 5th string. So if I take my A minor shape, and again using the wrong fingers here for demonstration, this is 5th string open as an A. So if I move this up and then bar, now I've got B flat minor or A sharp minor, whichever what you want to call it. And then to make it major, here's the A major. So these are a movable shape. You can play them anywhere. So if I do it here, it's now E major, because the 7th fret on the A string is an E. Okay. So you want to memorize this little sequence here. And again, you should be writing this stuff down. So if we take just this major shape here with the root note on the 6th string, the note on the 6th string here is your root note. And then we go to the A string, that's your 5. We go to the D string, and that's 8. So 8 is the same as 1, so it's just 1 octave higher. And then we go to the G string, that's your 3rd. So 1, 5, 8, 3. I want to memorize that. 1, 5, 8, 3. And then the same thing on rooted on the 5th string. So if I take this, 1, 5, 8, 3. So why is that important to know? Because you can create other chords if you know the formula for the chord based off of that. So let's say that all you knew was this major shape here. So we already learned that the major chord is 1, 3, and 5. It's the 1st, 3rd, and 5th note of the major scale. So that means that the note here is our 3rd. And what do we do to a major to make it a minor? We flatten it. So now that would be a minor chord. Now, if we want to make a 7th chord out of this, you can take the formula for that, like if we're doing a dominant 7th chord, it's a major chord with a flat 7 in it. So here's our major chord. Now we need to add a flat 7. So how are we going to do that? 1, 5, 8. Our D string is the 8. So I'm here, in this case, this is A major. So this here, I'm on the 7th fret of the D string. If we flattened that 1 fret, it would be our 7, because there is only a half step between 7 and 8. Remember, the last interval, the last change in the major scale is a half step. So a dominant 7th has a flat 7. So that means we're going to have to move that note down a whole step. So if we just remove that finger, now we have a dominant 7, or written as A7. If we wanted to make a minor 7, we just flatten our 3rd by removing our middle finger. I can try to get these fingers out of the way so you can see here. Then you have A minor 7. Now, if we come down here with the root note on the 5th string, same thing. If we want to make a dominant 7th chord, 1, 5, 8. take that note, we flatten it a whole step. Now we have a dominant 7th chord. We want to make it minor 7, we have to flatten our 3rd. If we want to make it a major 7th chord, so it's 1, 3, 5, 7. So our 8 is here, 7 and 8 is only a half step apart from each other. So that means instead of going down a whole step, we're only going to go down a half step. And that's major 7. So hopefully I didn't go through that too fast for you to be able to catch on. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions about this? Because now would be the time to, if you have a question about this specific part we're in, now would be the time to ask that. Anybody? Nobody have any questions on that? I'll just give it another minute or so in case anybody's typing. While I'm waiting, actually, I forgot to do the major 7th shape if it's rooted on the 6th string. So here, 1, 5, 8. So we need to move this note down a half step. So we can do it like this, or you can change your hand position like this. Either way, I tend to do it this way because that was just the way I learned it a million years ago, and it's just muscle memory. All right, so if nobody has any questions, then we'll move on. So last week, one of the things that I talked about, that's the other thing I said too, because I was gearing up to this and then I got cut off. If you've got major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. So what that is that for each note of the major scale, each degree, there's going to be a chord that's rooted off of each one of these notes. So the first one is major, because remember we said major, then minor, then minor, then major, then major, then minor, diminished, and then we'd be back to a major again. Oh, so I guess actually, let's see, I'm new to the channel, just found you. I've been playing guitar for a long time, but still haven't figured out what is the connection that makes your guitar playing seamless. Well, that's a question kind of like how long is a piece of string? There's really no definitive answer. Everybody is a little bit different as far as that goes. Best advice is it's practice, it's repetition. All playing guitar is just developing muscle memory. Anybody can learn how to play guitar. There's a big misconception that like, I don't have any talent, or I don't have as much talent as this other guy, so I can't do this or that. That's completely not true. Talent will only take you so far. It all comes down to just repetition. I have zero talent. Everything that I'm a testament to practice, anything that I can do, because nothing was easy for me. Nothing just came natural for me. And I've had a lot of students who were just the opposite, that I show them something and they just completely absorb it right away, things that took me forever to be able to do. So everybody's a little bit different. So my advice for you is just to practice a lot. And even if it's like you're playing a song that you've played like a million times and you're sick of it, that's how you get better, is you just keep doing it until it's just completely seamless. Think about a band like Lynyrd Skynyrd. They go play live and they play Sweet Home Alabama. How many times have they played that song? Probably more times than any of us could count. And that's what makes it, that's what makes it all smooth and everything. So anyhow, I hope that answers your question. I know it was not really specific to like what you're saying, but that's my best advice, is it's just lots of practice, practice with the metronome, really you know, just try to do everything as precise as you can, and relax. You know, don't be all tense. Try to be relaxed. Oh, you're welcome. Appreciate you watching. So anyway, the other chord then I guess I forgot that we should look at is the diminished chord. So the formula for a diminished chord is 1, flat 3, and flat 5. So it's a minor chord with a flat 5. So if we are going to take the shape based off of the root note, the root note being on the 6th string, 1, 5, 8, 3. So we need to flatten our 3rd. Now we have minor. Now we need to flatten our 5. So we get, that's the diminished with the root on the 6th string, but the one that we're going to be using for the scale is actually the one that's rooted on the 5th string. So again, here's our minor shape, and we're going to flatten the 5. So I'm actually going to be moving this note with my 3rd finger here on the D string from the 9th fret in this case to the 8th. So I have to resituate my fingers. So I'm going to put my middle finger there, put my 3rd finger down on the B string, and then my pinky here. So that's our diminished. And then there's another one that we're going to be doing here in a few minutes when we do the second chord scale. That's a minor 7, flat 5, which basically means it's a diminished chord has a 7th in it. So in that case, you just do this shape and just take your pinky off. Okay, so what we're going to do for this chord scale is we're going to play a chord based off of each degree of the scale. And we're going to follow it just like it is. So I'm going to do the first 3 chords on the low E, and then the next 3, or excuse me, the next 4 on the A string. Now, when we play the scale, this note is here, the 7th note is here, and there are, you know, you can do a diminished chord like that too, but we want to use the one that's rooted off the 5th string because it's going to be more, you're going to be able to apply it more into things than that particular voicing. So what that'll be then is where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 7, and then back to 8 here. Same note. All right. So for the first chord scale, we're going to be doing the one for 3-note chords for major and minor chords. So we're going to do it in the key of G. So again, our notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then back to G. So we've got G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, and then back to G again. So in the key of G, those are the chords. G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished. Those are the chords that are in that key. So by memorizing the sequence, it doesn't matter what key you're in, it's always going to be the same thing. So let's say we decided what are the chords in the key of A major. So the scale would be, we have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, C sharp, or G sharp, and then back to A. Sorry, little brain fart there. It is so hot here. We've been having just a massive heat wave and like a drought, and then it's rained yesterday just enough to make it like really, really humid. So it is so miserable in this room I'm in right now. I feel like I look like Monica on Friends when they went to they went to some island because Ross was giving a speech or something. It was really humid and her hair got all poofy. That's what I feel like right now. So we would have A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, and then back to A major. So you can figure out what chords are in any key by doing this. So, like I said, hopefully you're writing this stuff down, but you're going to want to practice doing that. Practice playing it so that way you know what the chords are, and then you can actually apply this to a chord progression. So a chord progression is just a group of chords. So like if you have a song and it's got 3 or 4 chords or whatever, those chords being played in the order that they're in the song is what is called a chord progression. So a really common one you probably heard a lot is 1, 4, 5. So all that means is that we're going to take the chords that are based off the 1st, 4th, and 5th degrees of the scale. So in this case, it would be G major, C major, and D major. About 1 million songs that are made out of that chord progression. But there's lots of other ones. So let's look at another one like 1, 6, 2, 5. That's another fairly common chord progression. So here's our 1 chord, and then our 6th chord is going to start there. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. So we have G major, E minor. Now we need the 2 chord, G, A, and it's a minor, A minor, and then the 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is also a major, D major. So sound familiar? Well, it should, because it's about a gajillion different songs use that. So that's like I said, that's what it's called a chord scale for 3-note chords. Now we have another one for 4-note chords. So the one for 4-note chords, and this is going to use our 7th chords. We have major 7, minor 7, minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7, flat 5, which like I said earlier is it's just a fancy way of saying it's a diminished chord with a 7th in it, and then back to major 7th again. So G major 7 is our 1 chord. A minor 7 is our 2 chord. B minor 7 is our 3 chord. C major 7 is our 4 chord, and D dominant 7 is our 5 chord. Our 6th chord is minor 7, E minor 7. Our 7 chord is F sharp minor 7, flat 5. Like I said, a big long name, but it's a diminished chord with a 7th in it. And then back to G major 7 again. So even though this is a separate scale, they're interchangeable with each other. So you could play that 1, 6, 2, 5 chord progression I was doing, and you could do it with all of the 4-note chords or all of the 3-note chords or a combination of the 2. So let's say we start off, we've got G major, E minor 7, A minor 7, D dominant 7, or any combination thereof you can do. You can mix it up any way that you want. It's basically should go off of what you think sounds good. Now, obviously, there's going to be some patterns that you do with it that are going to sound better than others. And that's like up to you. That's a matter of personal opinion. I've probably said this before, and I'm probably say it 1 million times. Learning all of this stuff, stuff with theory, is good. It's good to know where, the outline is of things that you can do that no matter what are going to sound good. We've got these, don't think of them as rules. Think of them as guidelines. So we've got these guidelines set up that we do everything inside of this box. We're golden. We're always going to sound good. But there are things you can do that are outside of the box that might be, you're putting in notes that are out of key. You're playing a chord that should be a minor and you're playing it as a major or vice versa. I mean, there's lots of things like that you can do that would be considered wrong because it's broke the rules. But don't think of it as rules. Think of them as guidelines. If you step outside of the box and you play something you don't think it sounds good, just don't play it. If you play something that you think sounds good, even though it's outside of that, safe zone, play it. If it sounds good, play it. Yngwie Malmsteen said that. If it sounds good, play it. And those are words to live by as far as I'm concerned with guitar. There's just lots of stuff you can do that's way outside of these rules. So by taking, if we take this chord progression, the 1-6-2-5 one here, the reason I'm using that one more than like the 1-4-5 is just the 1-4-5 has just kind of been done to death. I'll bet you, even if you just started playing guitar and you only know 3 songs, I bet 2 of them at least are 1-4-5 chord progressions, because it's just, it's the most widely used chord progression across all genres. It doesn't matter if you're listening to, blues, you're listening to hard rock, you're listening to country, bluegrass, whatever, that's a really, really common chord progression. And 1-6-2-5 is too. This one's just a little bit bigger of a chord progression, is why I'm using this one for these examples. So by doing those chords and then just changing up the rhythm, we can make this sound like a bunch of different recognizable things. So it's like a doo-wop song. Now, if I take that same thing, but I use these 4-note chords, G major 7, it's got kind of just a bit more like kind of a jazzy vibe to it, and I don't know. I just dig it. If you have not already learned a lot of these chords that I went over, I also recommend that you just learn all the different voicings and stuff like that. Playing A minor 7 like that sounds good, but I really like the way this one sounds more. It's the same chord, it's just being played differently. Just like you probably already know, you can play like an E like this, or you could play it like this, or you could play it like this. There's a dozen different ways you can play them. So by learning a lot of different ones, it's good for you, because then you get to pick and choose which ones you want to use based off of which ones you think sound better, or depending, like we're trying to play like a cover song or something, even though they might be playing, it might say play A7 or A major 7 or A minor, whatever the case may be. If it's A minor 7 and you play it like that, it may not sound as much like the song as if you played it like that, or played it like that. I mean, you really should learn all the different things. And actually, looks like we've got plenty of time. I can just show you some of those different voicings. So I am not a jazz guitar player by any stretch. I know how to play, a few different little things. I mean, not that I don't like it. It just has never been something that's been like a real super important thing to me. So I just never really got into it a whole lot. But there a lot of the chord voicings I do like. So that major 7th chord here that I like, it's really the jazz sounding voice I'm using here. And it's a movable shape, even though it's not actually a bar chord. So how I'm doing that, we'll do it in A. So your first finger will go on to, in this case, the 5th fret of the low E. And then your second finger will go onto the 5th fret of the B string. Your third finger will go onto the 6th fret of the D string, and your 4th finger will go onto the 6th fret of the G string. Now, when I play this, you don't want to hear the A or the high E strings. You don't want to hear those. So what I'm doing is I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this. I'm getting a new camera, so hopefully next week I'll have a new camera that's better than this one. I'm kind of letting my finger just lay down. I'm not really barring. I'm just letting my first finger kind of lay down, so that way it's just touching that fifth string to keep it quiet, and it's also touching the first string to keep it quiet. So even though I'm strumming all 6, I'm only getting 6, 4, 3, and 2. So that's the major 7th voicing that I really like. Now, the minor 7th voicing that I like, I mean, sometimes I'll use this one, just depending upon what I'm doing, but the more kind of jazzified sounder one that I like is, we'll do it in A again. So what it is, you're going to be playing the 5th fret of the low E, the D string, the G string, and the B string. And again, no A and no high E. So the way I do it is like this. I put all of my fingers, this is just the way I learned how to do it a long time ago. So my first finger is playing the low E, my second finger is playing the D, my third finger is playing the G, and my fourth finger is playing the B. And again, I'm letting my first finger mute the A and high E strings. And again, it's a movable shape. And you can play it like that, or the way that I see a lot of people doing it, that is probably easier than the way that I do it, but I've just done it this way so long that I don't have any problems getting in and out of it quickly, so I'm not going to change. But you can just take your third finger and just bar it across the D, G, and D string, and then use your second finger to grab the low E, and then that finger will mute the A and high E. But for me, it's easier just to do that. So those are 2 voicings that I really like. And then on the I really like this major 7th rooted on the 5th string too. I think that sounds really nice. Let's see. Some other chords that aren't. Oh, actually, that brings up something that I forgot to mention. So aside from the 3-note chords and then the 4-note chords, like 7th chords, and you've probably seen chords that'll say like, it'll say 9, like A9 or A11. So what that is that you're just adding in more notes. And if you're playing a 9 is the same note as the second note, but it's just an octave higher. It just, 8 is the same as 1, 9 is the same as 2, 10 is the same as 3, so on and so forth. So if you want to play a like a common one, be like a 9th chord. And I don't mean, there's a difference between ones you'll see that it'll say like E9 or E add 9. That's a different chord. I'll explain what that is here in a minute. So the thing to remember is anytime you see the chord name, the letter, whether it be an E or an A or a C or a D sharp or whatever, and then it has a number after it that's higher than 7, you just assume it's a 7th chord, and you're adding whatever to the top, on top of it. You're adding the 9 to it. So the one that the 9th chord that is the really popular one, you probably heard it referred to as the Hendrix chord, because he used it. He used it a lot in lots and lots of different songs. And this is a movable shape too. So here in this case with an E, I'm on the 7th fret of the A string with my second finger, 6th fret of the D string with my first finger, 7th fret of the G string with my third finger, and 7th fret of the B string with my fourth finger. So that would be E9. It is also like if you know B7, it's that same shape. You just move your pinky from the E string to the B string, and how this would be E9. So that's a really cool chord too, and you can substitute those. So if you wanted to do, back again, I'm going to pick on that 1-6-2-5 chord progression. If I play the major 7 on 1, and then I play the 9 on the 6th chord, instead of the minor 7th, I play that 9th. So A minor 7, and then D minor. You can just add a lot of different flavor to your chord progressions just by adding in those extra notes. Let's see. So what else can we talk about with chords? Suspended chords. So, like, and people will call it, like, chord be written D sus 2. So that's D suspended 2, and a lot of people will call it sus, D sus 2. I personally hate that. I hate it when people say sus. I don't know why. It just bugs me. But it's suspended 2. So what that means is a suspended chord is that the 3rd is being omitted. So and then replaced with whatever the number says. So we're somewhat limited to what suspended chords that we can play comfortably and easily on the guitar. The 2 most common ones that you will see all the time are based off of D and A. So let's just look at D first. So a major chord consists of root, 3rd, 5th. So let's go to the D major scale. We need 1 because that's our root. Obviously that's D. And we need the 3rd, D, E, F sharp. So our 3rd is F sharp, G, A. So the notes are D, F sharp, and A. So when we play this, we've got D, A, D, and F sharp. So our 3rd is F sharp is here on the high E string. So if we want to let's make D suspended 4. So what that means, we're going to remove the 3rd and we're going to replace it with the 4th. So between the 3rd and the 4th, is it a half step or is it a whole step? Well, what did we learn? The music DNA? Whole, half. So between the 3rd note and the 4th note, it's only a half step. So that means that to make this D suspended 4, we have to replace this 3rd, move it up to our 4th. In this case, it's G. So just by taking that D and putting your pinky down, that makes it D suspended 4. Now, if we wanted to make it D suspended 2, between 2 and 3 is a whole step. So if this is 3, a whole step down is the open string. So if we just remove that finger and play the high E open, then that's D suspended 4. So Tom Petty, Stairway to Heaven, before it goes into the guitar solo, it has that. Just D suspended 2, D suspended 4, quickly, Bryan Adams, The Summer of '69. It's just that's a really common one. It's used a lot. Now the other one that's simple to do too would be based off of A. So again, let's break down our A chord. So we go to A, we play our major scale. We're looking for 1, 3, and 5. A is 1, B, C sharp is 3, D, E is 5. So A, C sharp, and E. So when we play an A major chord, we have an A, we have an E, another A C sharp, and another E. So our 3rd is the 2nd fret of the B string. So if we want to make that A suspended 4, we have to do just like we did here. We have to move our 3rd up a half step. So we just take our 2nd finger and place it onto the 3rd fret of the B string, so it's a half step up from where it is. A suspended 4. A suspended 2, open. So that's A suspended 4, which is also part of that chorus on that Bryan Adams song, The Summer of '69. So it's the It just uses the 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, and then goes down to the A, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3. Yeah, so obviously there's more suspended chords than just D and A, but that's how you do it. But just some chord voicings, depending upon where they are, it's not going to work. So, for example, if we took E and we find, get our notes, E, F sharp, G sharp. So we have E, G sharp, A, and B. So E, G sharp, and B. E, B, E, G sharp. It's on the first fret. So if we take that off, we've only flattened it a half step and we've made E minor. So we cannot make E suspended 2 out of this voicing unless you tune your third string down a half step. But we can make E suspended 4 just by putting your pinky down on there. That's actually a way that you can play that Black Crow song, She Talks to Angels. They actually do it in an open tuning, but I figured out how to play it in standard tuning, and the just by putting that pinky there and making it a E suspended 4. Let's see, what else? Slash chords. And of course, I'm talking about the chords that Slash from Guns N' Roses plays. No, just kidding. So a slash chord is a chord that you see written that it might be like D slash F sharp. So what that is, when you see a chord written like that, the first letter is telling you what chord it is. And then the letter that's after the slash is telling you what the bass note is. So when you play chords, you're not necessarily playing them in order. Like the notes aren't necessarily being played in order. If we play D here, we're playing 1, 5, 1, 3. But if we play it like this, I'm just playing 1, 3, 5. So that is what is called being in root position, when the root note is the lowest note. But there are what are called inversions, where you can take those notes and change the order in which they are played in. And when you do that, it's still the same chord. It's just that since the bass note is different, it becomes a slash chord. So if we take D and we have D slash F sharp. So what that's telling us is that it's a D chord, but our bass note, instead of being D, is going to be F sharp. F sharp is the third. It's part of the chord, so we're good. So if we just take your thumb and you play the F sharp right here on the second fret of the low E, now you can play your fifth string open because that's an A, which is part of the chord. And obviously the D string open is being part of the chord. So that would be D over F sharp, D slash F sharp. And that's how you would say that, by the way, too, is D over F sharp. Yeah, and there's lots of other chords. A slash C sharp, so A over C sharp. So if we take an A chord, it's got a C sharp in it, but our root note is A. So if we do A over C sharp, we're going to do that A, and we're going to change the bass note from an A to a C sharp. And we do that just by playing the fourth fret of the A string. And then that is our A over C sharp. All right, so I just kind of went over a whole bunch of sort of, I mean, it's all relative, but not exactly where. I didn't expect to get through that first part as quick. I thought last week that I wouldn't have been able to finish what I was talking about in the amount of time that was left before the internet decided to take a crap, but I probably could have. Anyway, we still got a few minutes here, so now would be the time if anybody has any questions about any of the stuff that I just talked about, or just any other guitar-related stuff. I like to try to answer some questions. And if you've been in these live streams before, I like to do a thing I call Stump the Dummy. So try to ask me a question that I, try to stump me, see if I can answer it. Not trying to say that I know it all or anything, because it's far from it. But it's just it's just a fun game. So ask away. Oh, and for the last couple of times, had several people keep asking questions about scales and about different kinds of scales and stuff. I think that's what we're gonna look at next Wednesday. So if you come back at the same time next Wednesday, it's going to be all about scales this next time. So if you have questions about scales, save them for that. But ask away. Like I said, we still got just a few minutes here, so ask me some questions. Try to stump the dummy here. Come on, somebody out there's got to have a question. So nobody has any questions or anything? Come on, I got to have some interaction here. All right, well, I guess if nobody has any questions or anything, we can kind of wrap this up. Appreciate everybody that came out and watched tonight. I've been having a good time doing this. It's a lot more fun when it gets more interaction, people asking questions and stuff. But nevertheless, it's been fun. I enjoy coming on here and trying to help you guys out as much as I can. If you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we upload. 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. So sometimes we upload something every day, and then with the live streams, and there's thousands of videos that are already on there, through the channel that from years and years ago. I mean, a lot of it before I was even here. For you to check out from me and numerous other guitar instructors that have done stuff for guitar control in the past. All right, well, if nobody has any questions or anything, then I think that I'm going to wrap this up, because if I don't get out of this room and get some cool air, I'm probably going to die. It is so hot in here. It's just muggy. Like I said, I'm starting to look like Monica on Friends I think it was Barbados where they went on that episode of Friends. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions or anything, then I think I'm going to end this stream for tonight. I appreciate everybody who came, and check it out. I hope that it was helpful. I hope you learned something and got something out of this. Hope this is something that you find to be a useful, a useful tool. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. Have a great night.